And tonight in our Think Tank series, the spotlight falls on cars, diesel cars to be specific, and whether Singapore's new carbon emissions-based vehicle scheme, which kicks in January of 2013, is good for the environment and good for humans. Joining me in the studio, Channel NewsAsia's resident analyst and a familiar face to many of our viewers, Nicholas Fang. And Nicholas is the director of the Singapore Institute of International Affairs. So, Nick, you published a commentary piece suggesting here that Singapore's plans to mitigate climate change can be harmful to humans?
Hi, Tim. It's good to be back. And yes, we ran a series of commentaries in the Today paper. Basically, in the latest one, looking at the measures announced in the budget that was revealed recently. And there's a worrying move by the government to remove the green vehicle rebate and replacing it entirely with a new carbon emissions-based vehicle scheme. Now, what this actually does was, under the old scheme, you get a 40% rebate for environmentally friendly vehicles. Under the new CEVS scheme, the rebate program actually rewards carbon-efficient vehicles alone. And they're also slashing a tax for diesel vehicles that comply with Euro 5 emissions by some 70%. So what all of this is doing is actually lowering carbon emissions and getting more cars on the road like diesel, which emit less carbon. The concern about this is that this neglects other pollutants. We're talking about things like particulate matter, dust, small particles, hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxide, which is all harmful stuff. Carbons emissions date back to the days of the early green movement, where carbon emissions are linked to greenhouse gases, global warming and the such. Now, why is this an issue for us, even when we talk about Euro 5 standards? Euro 5 standards for the diesel vehicles control the level of carbon, as I mentioned, but they allow for relatively higher levels of the other stuff, nitrogen oxides, particulate matters, hydrocarbons than gasoline cars, petrol cars, and much higher than levels for gas, hybrid or CNG vehicles. Now, you may ask, why is this a problem, and why is it a concern for us? Well, research has actually shown that an increase in Euro 5 diesel car usage, which is what the new measures are likely to cause on Singapore roads, could actually lead to a modest reduction in carbon emissions, but significantly higher levels of nitrogen oxides, particulate emissions.
But the pollutant of concern, 2.5 micron in size, it says here, which is probably a speck of dust, can lead to bronchitis and asthma?
PM 2.5 or particulate matter 2.5, like you mentioned, is refers to dust particles that are 2.5 micrometers in diameter. They're very small. And the smaller they are, the more dangerous they are, because they actually get into your lungs and into your system easier than bigger particles which are trapped in the usual
So is this prolonged
membranes.
exposure to these particles then?
Actually, the exposure within a couple of hours can start leading to signs that are associated with premature aging. You see cognitive deterioration, increased risk of heart attack, strokes, and of course breathing difficulties. So for a 25% increase in diesel vehicle population on the roads, you see about an 84% increase in hydrocarbon and particulate matter. So we're talking about a disproportionate spike in other pollutants other than carbon for a commensurately small reduction in carbon. So that's why we thought it's a bit of a concern. The current debate shifts the emphasis to carbon, almost entirely to carbon, without talking about these other pollutants that are actually bad for the health.
Okay, we don't have much time left, but moving forward, what do you suggest then that the Singapore government should look into?
Well, what we've seen work in the past is a pollution tax. So you could have a pollution surcharge on diesel vehicles that are for passengers. Diesel vehicles work very well over longer distances at a certain speed, not necessarily for taxis and the like. And I think what we could actually see is a greater encouragement of greener technology like electric cars, CNG cars, which we have on the roads. In Paris, they have a system called Autolib, I think, where you can actually rent an electric car, drive it to another destination and drop it off there. So it becomes like a rent system for bicycles and things like that. And making it easier for people to use technology that is not such polluting technology, not in just saying only concentrating on carbon or particulate matter, but trying to get the mix right and bring both levels down.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Nick.
Pleasure.
Speaking there with Nicholas Fang, director of the Singapore Institute of International Affairs, and right here on Channel NewsAsia's Think Tank series.